Hey, this is Matt with OnX. I love a good backcountry hunt as much as anybody else, but a lot of times in the West you're hunting checkerboard areas or lower elevation units, and you're chasing antelope, mule deer, elk, and you're not always up in high basins. And so I wanted to point out to you 5 features that I look for on public land when I'm doing these types of hunts and hunting those checkerboard areas. So let's dive in. I'll show you 5 of my favorite examples. So first up is, you'll see here on the screen, one of my favorites is where a county road just barely crosses a section of public land. And you'll see on this one, you zoom into this waypoint, it's just like 2 car lengths that you're going to be able to park here. And then this opens up access to a whole section here, so 640 acres, 1 mile by 1 mile. And I'm going to go in 3D here. What I really like about this one is there's a water source right here, and as I pan the map around, you'll see there's some hidden valleys and gullies here, and this just looks to me like a perfect spot to do a morning hunt and find a rutting mule deer in here, get into these back valleys and really find this. So the goal here is to find these spots and get in where other hunters aren't getting in. So that's one of the first ones right there, where you can see where a little bit of state land touches a county road. That looks like a sweet spot. So number 2 is an interesting concept. It's kind of hard to explain in one word, but basically the concept is you're going to be using roads to glass pieces of public land that you can't really access from that side of the road. You would have to drive around a couple miles and then hike in from a different direction to actually get to that public land. But what you can do, and what you'll see on this, let me turn it into 3D here, you'll see the county road here, and we have some access on the Forest Service up here. But what you can do is from this road is glass a lot of these valleys and benches here, and see if there's deer in there. This looks like great mule deer habitat here in eastern Montana. And so if you see something interesting, you can come in here, drop a waypoint. Let's see, grab a antelope waypoint. If you see some up here, come in, change the color, do all that stuff, save it. And then what you're going to do is drive around and hit this access point here, really. And then you're going to be hiking in. So you're going to come in and hike in around. One thing I also like about this spot is it has enough country that I can run into other animals during this hunt in case I don't, find that antelope or that buck again. So it has enough room where I can actually do a whole day hunt in here as well. So, but the trick is really to use the roads to help you be more efficient in glass areas ahead of time before you hike in. So that's tip number 2. Okay, and now we're on to the 3rd spot. A lot of times you're going to be doing a 5, 6, 7 day hunt. You're doing a lot of hard hunting, hiking in all day, all morning, whatever. And sometimes you just need an afternoon where you got some easy spots you can hunt. And so one of the spots I look for is the spots here. You can see this county road is going through the state section pretty good. And from this look, it looks like, yeah, you can glass, most of this from the road. But once you get into 3D and really zoom in here, you'll see that from the road, you can't really see that back hidden valley of this section. And so as we rotate here, you'll see here's a whole hidden valley here and another one here. And it doesn't take a lot of area to hide a buck or a couple does during the rut. And you only need 1 buck, right? So I love to mark a whole bunch of these spots ahead of time. So on that afternoon when I just want to drive around and check out spots, do some quick hunts, this is a perfect one. So I can park here, run up this ridge. It's going to take me 5 or 10 minutes. Take a peek in the other side, see if there's a buck there, and then hit up a whole bunch of these. So just because a lot of people, hunters, think they can see this whole area, parked here, but use the map and in 3D to really explore and see if there's these little hidden valleys. And those are some sweet spots. I've found a lot of deer in some little spots just like this. So if I was going here, I'd definitely be going to this. Okay, so that brings us to number 4, and I call this Peninsula of Public Land. And let me pan the map a little bit here. You'll see we got a county road down here crossing through the BLM. So really good access point. But what I like is it's gonna be about a 2 mile hike, and then you have this 1/2 mile wide by 2 mile long peninsula that goes out into private here. And what I really like is you're gonna get away from a lot of the other hunters, and you've got 2 miles. That's a lot of property to get out there and hunt, and it's surrounded by private. And so if you hike out here, you got a good chance of finding a buck or an elk in here. And if there's a food source or water and they're crossing back and forth, that's a good spot to try to find them crossing through the public. And so since it's a half mile, that's about 800 yards wide, and so that's plenty of room to hunt here for archery or even rifle. Looks like we got a little hidden valley here, and we got a ridge here with an old 2-track on it, and you got a couple nice draws down here that could definitely be holding some deer or elk. So this is a really cool spot I definitely want to check out if I was hunting this unit. Okay, and last but not least is number 5, and this is my personal favorite. I call this kind of the gateway to freedom, but really we've got another spot here, example of number 1, where you got a county road barely going through some BLM, and then this is going to be pretty flat, so we got a nice flat hike out here for a mile, mile and a half. Then you get to this passageway, 400 yards wide, but then that opens up this section of state, and you've got another peninsula here, a BLM to the south. You've got this big chunk of BLM here, all these draws, mountains there, and then there's actually another passageway a little bit wider here to the west, and then from there you can go north, just up and hunt all of this stuff. The only other access point, without verifying stuff on the ground, it looks like there's one here and one up here. So if you can drop in here, hike all the way around, get into here, you're probably not going to run into any other hunters. This would be a great day hike, and you can also come in here, set up a camp for 2 or 3 days, and I think you can have some success in here for some mule deer. So find those hidden passageways. It doesn't take much work, with the Onyx Hunt app. It's gonna be pretty easy to navigate through there and then just unlock all those areas in there. So when I'm looking at the map, like if I see something that looks like this, that just instantly draws my attention. I'm gonna go check out what that leads to. Okay, so that wraps up my top 5 types of public land that I'm looking for when I'm on a hunt. So number 1 was a piece of public that barely touches a road. Number 2 was something I can glass from the road, but I can't necessarily get to that easily from that access point. I gotta drive around, hike in 1 or 2 miles. I really like using that trick. Number 3 is find those spots for your midday short hunts, those little hidden valleys over a ridge. That's something other people will overlook. Number 4 was hunting peninsulas, so finding those pieces of public that jut out into private land. Hunting those boundaries, that's super important. A lot of animals out there. And number 5 was using those passageways through a narrow piece of public to get to more public. So next time you're scouting, be sure to look for those 5 types of properties, mark those on your map, and then when you get out to the field, you can just do some ground truthing, see if stuff matches with what you see on the web, and if it makes sense to hunt. The main goal is to be sneaky and get away from other hunters, right? So kind of use these concepts to not hunt the same spots that everybody else is. So use those tips and good luck this fall.